record. We're now recording, and we're going to get into this session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. All right, if it's okay with you all, I do kind of just given I've got multiple screens going. So I do like to share out of like this kind of just the non-presenter mode, if that's okay. If anyone is having trouble seeing me, I do apologize. You can pin me if you want to, and that kind of thing. So hopefully we go from there. All right. So I learned a little bit about you all. There's a lot of amazing people in here today, which is really cool. Thank you all again for coming in and dropping in your name and where you are in the chat. We are going to do like a real quick intro about myself, and then we'll get right into it. There is time, if you have the ability to have a second browser open, if you would go to chat.openai.com or openai.com and just have ChatGPT open, that would be awesome. I do want this to be a hands-on session. While we get ready to kick off, I will say that while I'm presenting today, Jesse McNulty was a cornerstone in developing this particular series with me, while he was my counterpart in APO, all those actually 12 months to the day almost, right, bud? But yeah, so thank you all for being here. So who am I? I am the instructional media coordinator for Appoquinimink School District. So I work in the curriculum office, but I speak IT. I was a classroom teacher for 8 years, library media specialist for 2 years, an instructional coach for a few years. And now in my current capacity, I am working on different projects that involve mostly tech and curriculum and things like that. I was formerly of William Penn. I see some former colonial names on here, including some friends, which is cool. So thank you all again for being here. Right now, my current work on AI, I do a bunch of work for the state. I do a bunch of work on the subcommittees. I also represent Delaware K-12 schools on a 16-state commission. So I do a little bit of work with a group called the Southern Regional Education Board on AI. So while my slide deck is fairly universal, if you have more specific questions and you want to follow up with me, my email will be the last slide I show. You can also put questions in the chat. I would love to kind of follow up with anybody who has questions. And if I don't hit what you're looking for today and you want to talk or collaborate about AI, we will absolutely do it. Post a link in the chat. Yeah, sure. OpenAI.com. It's just ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, the reason why we go to ChatGPT is the most commonly used plugin for other AIs. So if you are using an artificial intelligence, you are likely using an API that goes back to ChatGPT. Even the bigger Google-based ones, Microsoft-based ones use an API that associates with OpenAI or ChatGPT. So that's why we use them. Real quick in the chat, if I was going to say we're going to do like a 0, 1, 2, like a very simple rubric. If I was to ask you, are you comfortable using AI in education? 0, not comfortable. 1, I think I could do it. 2, I'm already doing it. So 0, 1, 2. Love that waterfall. I love how active you all are today. That is amazing. We are getting a good variety of 0, 1s, and 2s, which is awesome. Good. Love it. Excellent. Thank you all. So real quick, as we kind of get into this, here's my general overview. So if you have a question about one of these subheadings, if you want to hold the question until we get to that subheading, that would be amazing. You are more than welcome to drop it in the chat. I do know that, like I said, that both, Dawn is here too. There are several people in here that could absolutely answer the questions. I'm just seeing some of my peers in other districts here who are fabulous educators in their own right and AI users. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat. If you have an answer possibly to the question, feel free to reply to it and I will try to hit it as we go. Jesse, I might lean on you for any questions that you think are a really good, like open air kind of, let's get them out there in the audience. I did not ask him ahead of time, but I will send him a Starbucks gift card session. Awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about introduction. We're going to talk about AI in the classroom, AI for educators, and then we're going to use it throughout this whole thing. All right, working definition, and I do think this is important. We all see my AI slide that has the working definition on there. Thumbs up, we're good, awesome, thank you all. So artificial intelligence, we have to boil this down and take a second to talk about it. It's a machine performing a task that requires human intelligence. I don't like that. I'm a big human in the loop person. I do believe that we need to kind of keep, especially in education, humanity as a part of the conversation. So AI replicates human-like intelligence. It's not the same thing as an intelligent being. It's not sentient, like yet. I'm still polite to ChatGPT just in case like Skynet comes around at some point and we have to deal with AI kind of taking us over. But that's just a precaution for the long game. But it is human-like intelligence. I will also, actually, we could ask it, or anybody wants to talk about it. Anybody know what form of, and not my peers who wrote the document, but anybody know what kind of artificial intelligence ChatGPT is? So when I talk about AI, we tend to talk about, yeah, it's a large language model, and then there's a secondary classification too. Generative. Excellent. Yeah, you all are experts. Like, why are you here? Run this session. Come on. So it's a language model and it's generative. And this is where we need to be very specific when we talk about ChatGPT. It has a goal, a primary function that it was programmed with 2 years ago. Anybody know what that was? What the actual first bit of primary document, the first core prompt it had? So this is like ChatGPT's goal. And this is important because this also shapes the entire ChatGPT experience. Anybody want to guess? You can take off mute, you can type in chat, but what's its goal? Not to help with daily tasks. It's a good question. We use it for daily tasks, but it's not to help with daily tasks. Not the scaffold either. These are great guesses. And this is what companies will tell you. To learn nuance, that's on the right path. The actual goal of ChatGPT is to process data with a goal. You guys are so close. You're absolutely right. But the actual goal of ChatGPT is to sound like a human being. That's what it was told to do. It said sound like a human being. And everything I talk about from here on down, having access to data is definitely like the scary company overlord thing. They're absolutely harvesting data for profiteering purposes, but that's a different conversation. So remember this, everything we do with ChatGPT from here on down, the primary directive is to sound like a human being. So it went out and it scraped the internet and it stole, and I will use the word stole because they've admitted it. They're basically just like, prove it and sue us. But yes, so the AIs in customer service, we'll talk about that too, because that's coming for education. So with this, remember that it's trying to sound like a human being. And there's a couple key things that we need to remember about talking to human beings. One, you have to understand who you're talking to when you're talking to somebody. Okay? Same thing with ChatGPT. Two, human beings lie. Okay? Human beings lie. And we tend to lie. Not yet. I'm not changing the slides yet. Sorry, I'm a talker. We're going to open up ChatGPT here in just a second. So, number two, they lie. And three, it was trained on the internet. And the internet is kind of a wonderful small corner of the universe, and the rest of it's pretty hard. So remember those three things when we deal with ChatGPT or any generative AI, okay? So to give you an idea, last May, they did a survey of educators and parents. 46% last May indicated they used AI chatbots in their personal life outside of school. Same with students, undergrads, and parents. I've done this survey this year in my district where I've trained a few hundred teachers, where I've talked to students. This percentage is much, much higher in Appoquinimink School District. We have way more AI use, especially this recent year, than what this survey indicates. So over 75% of people at some point were using AI last May. We're a much higher percentage here. Anybody in here use AI for personal reasons? Like when you're doing, so non-work, okay, couple hands, couple shakes, excellent. Someone that raised the hand is kind of, anyone does a personal reason. If you want to just unmute, you can unmute if you want to put in there. I see some dailies, very cool. Aaron, what's up? I see your hand up. Oh, you just showing that you do use it? Oh, hand down, cool. Recipes for ingredients I have in the fridge. I love that. That's a really fun one. Grocery lists, revised writing, organization, wonderful. To create a resume, that's excellent. Generating emails, absolutely. Hey, everyone starts somewhere. I see people saying I just started using it. That's wonderful. So, understanding, change the tone of a text, explanation, wonderful. So, very cool. All right, if you have ChatGPT open in a window, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to switch over to ChatGPT. Can people on my screen, can we see ChatGPT right now? Awesome. All right, if you're in ChatGPT, general definitions, yeah. Insane stories on a regular basis, yep, very cool. Spreadsheet formulas, write emails, awesome. Very cool. All right, so this is ChatGPT. Those of you that run ChatGPT free, I want to show you the paid option real quick to kind of see what you get on the other side. If it's something you're considering, it's $20 a month. I pay for it personally. It makes it up for me. Those of you that are running free, you'll have the interactive box right here. You don't have to sign in anymore. You used to have to sign in. So ChatGPT paid offers a couple different model versions. It also offers the ability to schedule tasks like, hey, in 2 days, check airline prices for me for these websites. Like those kind of tasks can be scheduled with the paid version. You also get access to like direct internet search, deep research, and image generation, as well as Canvas. So like there's different things, and Canvas is just a like working document. All right. Create sample commercials. I love that. Creating text to match a certain novel. Absolutely. All right, this is Canvas. So I'm going to just kind of show you this. Canvas is a tool that I use quite a bit. It allows you to interact with ChatGPT in 2 levels. I can type something here, like for example, if I'm typing an email to a parent, I can work on the email here, and then I can ask ChatGPT to interact on the left-hand side. Seems like we have a lot of users here who are pretty confident. I'm going to have you guys, and what I would like you all to think of in the next day or two, is there something that you need to prepare in a written format in the next day or two? So is there an email you want to send to your families? Is there a response that you need to have? Is there something that you need to do that would involve you sitting down and doing something what I would call administrivia in education? So a great example, earlier today, and maybe y'all didn't notice because maybe you're at this conference all day, our lovely LMS went down. Schoology went down this morning. So one of my jobs is to let people know and wreck their day. So one thing that I've noticed a couple years ago is that if I write emails that are funny and full of puns, people are more likely to read them because I'm wrecking their day, but maybe I can make them smile a little bit. So for me, I enjoy doing that. But let's say I'm running between buildings and I need to write an email. I could say, write an email to my staff. And notice I'm not being super specific. The LMS is down. I'd like it to be funny with attendance puns. Done. Oh, I love this message. Allie, thank you. Yeah, there's a few Appo people in here that get stuck with some of my messages. I do write my emails, but I do like to use this. So here's giving me a really insanely long, I'm going to tell it here, I'm going to say, move it to the right so you all can see it better. If you're just using Canvas in this, if you're just using ChatGPT in the stream, you can do that, but I just wanted to show you this option here. So this is ChatGPT working here. And basically, it's just giving us an idea. It actually aired out, which is interesting. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to come over here to compose, do it again. So right now, I've got an email. Just a quick note to let you know the LMS is currently down. We reported the issue to the tech team, working on a fix. It's added in a ton of context, right? Now, some of you have asked, and some people asked as soon as they got in here, how do I know if my kids are cheating? There are two hallmarks in this email. They're not guaranteed, but they are legacy markers that the current version of ChatGPT has. Okay. So if you look at this, is there anything that stands out to you that may be something unusual? If you had a student send this to you, or even a peer or a friend, there's two ways that this email is currently written, any document is written, that's are a bit unusual. Anybody kind of stand out if you read this, if you can see it? There's two, the dashes. I believe that's called an M dash. It's a double dash. The M dash right here, this. The current version of ChatGPT loves that symbol. They don't know how to use that symbol. I don't know how to use that symbol. Like, I can't make the computer provide that symbol. And it uses it anywhere that a regular person might do comma or brackets. It throws in that M dash. That's a coding legacy. So if you have kids doing that, a fun experiment before you call it out is like, hey, can someone please, come up here and type this M dash for me? Like, because it takes a couple keys to do it, and most people don't know how to do it. That is one. You can't see my example. Can people see my example? Can you all see my? You can. Is there if you try, maybe if you jump out and jump back in, I apologize if it's not working. I can copy it into the chat to kind of show you the M dash.
Like, I can see your face.
But the screen's not being. You can't see my screen share.
Not that little AI example you had on the
Sorry,
side.
I just dropped in. I put it in the chat so you can kind of see the dashes I'm talking about.
Okay.
I apologize for that. So there's one there. The other one too, and this is something else that it does, and you don't really see it here, but if your students were doing this you can see it a little bit here in this third sentence. It loves sentences with like 5 or 6 commas. Like, rather than write 5 sentences, it will do one grammatically correct sentence with 5 or 6 commas. And that's one of those things that, again, no student knows how to write like that. Like, even myself, like when I just recently finished up my second master's, and I would every once in a while like have like feed it my papers and be like, hey, can you run this on a rubric for me? And Melissa's providing some support, which is cool. Thank you, Melissa. So it loves those multi-sentence commas. So if you're getting stuff from students and you're trying to figure out if maybe this was an AI influence, if they're using 5 or 6 commas in a correct sentence, that to me is a little bit of a legacy marker, but those M dashes for sure. Pam, I saw you wave or raise your hand.
I was going to say the same thing that she was saying in there of like, if you click on the little down arrow where it says Zoom Workplace, you can switch between meeting and Kevin Wright's screen, and that might be why she can't see it.
Thanks. It must be a new feature.
Yeah, Zoom updates a crazy amount. So it's really it does a ton. All right. So that I wanted to address that kind of early on for people because I know that's one of those legacy things that people ask all the time. I do not believe in any AI detector. So like an AI detector is like one of those things that you copy work into and you're like, could AI have written this? And I'll be honest with you, yeah, AI could have written that no matter what it is. Yes, AI could have written because it's a generative model. It can generate anything you want. I can also go back to this and say include 7 spelling mistakes because my teacher's going to read this. So like it's one of those things that yes, AI yeah, and things like Zero Chat GPT, like if that's a workflow that you have, that's great. I don't recommend it to my staff. It's one of these things. For me, it's always about natural tone of voice. I know my student, I know how they talk, and this doesn't sound like you. I've met with students I've never talked to before when teachers are like, hey, I think they're using AI. And I'll be like, hey, this doesn't sound like you. So like, and they're just like, you don't know me. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't sound like you. So those kind of things. So yeah, Kate and Melissa saying that Kate doesn't recommend them either. The one caveat I have is if you are using Google Docs and you are looking at large chunks of copy and paste and the sources are not cited, then that's an indicator too. Because then you can say to the student, like, hey, I see you copied and paste that. Would you mind telling me where you got it from? And so that would be a way to check that as well. So, all right. Those of you that are new to prompting, I'll talk a little bit about prompts, but the majority of people in here have, looks like have been doing some prompts, like in terms of writing. But there's a couple things here that I want you to kind of understand about prompting, which is how we type and talk to ChatGPT. There's a lot of things online. Like if you Google like courses on AI, they're just going to tell you how to write prompts to AI and things like that. The goal here, though, and I will tell you that OpenAI in particular, they're spending a lot of their money and research on making it accessible to everyone because they want the AI to sound like a human. So they want you to talk to it like a human. So like you can have a conversation, you can have a back and forth. You can talk to it casually. Now, one thing I always talk about is be specific in your requests. There's something to think about here. The way we use words spoken out loud, we use synonyms. To AI, they're not always synonyms. Okay. So by changing a word like analyze to, discover will change different things, or like those kind of ideas will change the output sometimes. Natural language is always good. I have found personally that it will respond in language similar. It will respond to language similar to what I give it. So like I tend to be pretty casual. So I will I will call it dude or buddy or whatever, because that's just how I interact with the world. But it will be more casual back to me. You can be super formal with it if you want. I love to provide examples. Hey, I'm working on something like this. Insert an image, take a screenshot, picture, insert a PDF, whatever. I would like to do something similar with what I'm working on now. Or for example, like I made a flyer for students on like what to do with AI and what not to do with AI. And I gave it to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, can you give me some feedback on this? And it was like, hey, kids also cheat with me like this. So like it gave me another do not. And I was like, okay, cool. And I'm just at the task. Very cool. And then so yeah, dude, when it lied to me, I will routinely tell ChatGPT, I'm like, you're wrong. You've lied, because it does. And that's something too that I want to make sure that you see when we go to like write a prompt. As you go to write with it, it will pop up messages every once in a while where it's like ChatGPT gets stuff wrong. Like, do not rely on it for like specific things because it does get stuff wrong. Absolutely. Testing and iterating is important. You can like I said, Kat said that you told it when it was wrong about doing a task. Absolutely. And sometimes it'll apologize, like, yeah, I did lie, or I didn't do that. Here it is. And then it will spit out the result that you like. Being patient and creative helps when you're first learning how to do it. You will find a workflow that works for you. It's one of those things that if you kind of spend 15 minutes just trying to get something that you need, it will help get you there. Understanding like some of the AI terms, it's funny, I've got that on there. That's becoming less important. The way I look at artificial intelligence and the way I approach it is the way I approach my car. I know enough about my truck to know when I should use my truck or when I should take my wife's car somewhere. I know enough to know that it doesn't sound like it's working correctly. And I know enough to take it to who I know I should when there's issues going on. I'm not a mechanic, but I use my car every day. You do not have to be an AI software engineer to use AI. Okay? You don't. So if you're new to AI or you're worried about it, you do not have to be an engineer to use it. My 7-year-old gets hyper fixated on certain things. He will talk to ChatGPT about it because ChatGPT will respond and create images for things that he wants to see. Like, I want to see a Minecraft world with the universal logo. And I'm like, but I don't think that exists. But we can make it exist with ChatGPT. Some people on here know my son, so they can see it. And then obviously take a second, kind of embrace some of AI potential. So what I would like you to do right now is take a second in ChatGPT. And if you have a topic, an idea, a question, or something that you think may come up in the next day or two between now and Friday, is there a way that AI might be able to help you with it? those of you that work with MLL students, which is kind of the whole theme of today, and I apologize because while I am learning in that field, I am not an expert in that field. I do meet with the staff to try and help. So I'm doing my best to learn. I will talk about 2 programs that we are looking at exploring with our students coming up for language acquisition. But there's things like translation services. ChatGPT was really, really bad at translating. Recently, it's gotten better. So some of you are working with families who may speak different languages or languages that you're not comfortable with. You can use that as a translation. One of the things I've done recently is I have some teachers in our immersion programs who are not native English speakers. When they get parent emails, a lot of times you lose context in email because of the way we write things, the way things are phrased. So I've been showing them, like, look, you can copy that email. We remove names first, always remove names. Copy the email into ChatGPT and ask for it to explain it to you in simpler language, or ask for it to translate for you. And you can look at something differently because it can help with those kind of things. So I do that with some of my teachers. Anybody have a task coming up in the next day or two that they used AI for, or they might use AI for? They want to share something they just did? I'd love to have somebody else talk. Yeah.
I'm so excited. So I don't mess with ChatGPT too much. I've done a few things, some emails and things, but I was thinking what we're doing right now, I'm pushing into this geometry class. I'm a coach, but there's a geometry class that has about 5 newcomers in it right now, and they've been struggling a lot. So I've been supporting. So I just went in and typed, what kind of scaffolds can I provide for a unit on triangle congruence? Because that's what we've been working on, just to see what would come up, because I know I'm familiar with a lot of the things. And it gave me visual hands-on scaffolds, purpose and examples, a whole bunch. And then also conceptual scaffolds, language and vocabulary scaffolds, proof scaffolds, gradual release of responsibility examples, like very impressive stuff. And all of it is things that I would have already done as a coach. So pretty impressive. I was a little blown away because I haven't seen them be that thorough in a while. Like it's it's really amazing.
The 4.0 model is very strong.
Yeah, that's impressive, especially with the education lean. Like it looks like they're actually looking at our research more instead of in the past, it would be sort of surface level to stuff. I wasn't getting like a deeper support.
Absolutely. That's a great example.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Kevin, I have used ChatGPT in the past when I wanted to create a vocabulary chart for my students.
Yeah.
The word, the definition, the sentence, and then a space for the picture. Now, I know that ChatGPT doesn't create a picture, so that's okay. But it usually will take me an hour or like maybe a little bit more to come up with. Now I can just give ChatGPT the prompt, tell him what lexile level I wanted, depending on my students' language proficiency. If I want the sentences to be tied to a topic, I include that in my prompt. And the little lovely chart comes up, and then I just have to go about the task of looking for the pictures that I have included. And so my 5th graders were working on westward expansion and pioneers. So I kind of like saw the vocabulary words that the teachers were working with, and I created this thing. And it took me the longer part of it was looking for the pictures, but
Yeah.
minutes compared to 75, that's a big save of my time.
Absolutely. And that's something to think about with this too, where time saving. And now, Olinda, to your comment, if you wanted to, and again, not affiliated, not sponsored, but if you give ChatGPT $20, they'll create images for you too. So you can do image generation.
I have been thinking about it, and I have been resistant, but you know what? If it is gonna give me the pictures, $20 a month, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah. So the math was simple. Jesse and I actually sat down one day and we said, really, how much time would I need to save to justify spending $20? And for me, it's like half an hour.
Yes.
Like it's one of those. And if it usually saves me half an hour, like a day. Darna, that's really interesting that it laid out points from your master's in a very specific situation. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's a great example. one from my personal life, my son's hyperfixation last year got really intense to the point that he was only willing to read about certain things. So with math prompts in particular, he didn't want to do apples and oranges, like that kind of thing. But if I said asteroids and planets, he was like into the problem, like into it. So I could copy the problem and say, hey, change the words to asteroids and apple, like those, or from apples to asteroids, or like give me 3 word set problems that talk about space. So I could do skills with him when he didn't want to do it at school, so he could sort of get a little bit of that experience at home. Obviously the goal, same thing, MLL, special education, those kind of programs, I want to direct him back to the core curriculum. But if it's to the point where it's like he hasn't done a math problem in 4 days, like I can get him there with certain things. Yeah. I'm seeing some wonderful stuff in the chat. If you all kind of follow on, there's some wonderful ideas there. We talked about it a little bit. So AI in the classroom, like you all talked about it, personalizing things, adapting, modifying, improving. I do want to jump to the next one. Creation. If you pay ChatGPT, you can create images. Create an image of an AI infused classroom. Risky click. I don't know what it's going to make. Okay. So a little disclaimer there. I don't know what we're going to get. So understand that, it's one of my favorite terms in EdTech is risky click. So we're going to see what we get. But it does create images. Recently, they've added this like photorealistic and realism filter to some of these. I'm curious if I'm going to get a cartoon out of this or what I'm going to get. But this is the new AI image generation. If you pay for it, it takes a little bit longer. So we'll come back in a second. I'm going to keep the audience hooked by not showing you the image yet. So for educators, you've also talked about this a little bit too, but I want to kind of bring up a couple of things. There's 2 phrases I use with artificial intelligence all the time. No more writer's block, and alteration is easier than creation. Okay. So no more writer's block and alteration is easier than creation. Two of the most common things that my teachers are wind up using AI to support and not replace human in the loop all times is emails and letters of recommendation. Emails is a big one because we have all, as classroom educators, as people that work in school districts and school leaders, I see a couple principals on here. We've all gotten hit at the end of the day from an email from a parent who is just trying to do right by their kid, but there's a lot of emotion there and you're fatigued. What's the average educator make? 100 and some decisions an hour or something along those lines. And you just need a minute. You can take the body of the email. Again, please always remove names. Don't give ChatGPT or OpenAI personally identifiable information. But you can put it in there and say, like, I need to respond to this email, but I want to emphasize that the student was doing this behavior, but I'm here to support them. It can give you something that you can alter versus create, and it takes some of the emotion and some of the tie out of it for you to allow you to respond to that parent, even if it's just a response saying, I need to acknowledge this email, but politely tell the parent that I'm going to respond to them tomorrow. Because sometimes we need to be able to step away. The second use case is letters of recommendation. I can go into ChatGPT and say, I've known a student for 4 years. They're an A student in psychology. They've done these 3 things. They're extremely creative. They're a wonderful person, and I highly recommend them for the scholarship. And it can give you a skeleton. It will literally give you the skeleton prompt that you need. And again, for some of my AI teachers, and some of my, I meant to say AP, but I read the word AI, AP teachers. I have a couple AP teachers who get between 100 and 150 letter of recommendation requests a year. In my class, when I was teaching AP psychology, I would take off school to write letters of rec, to sit there and kind of work it through. There is so many great ideas going on in this chat right now. If y'all take a second and kind of look through. But again, if we go back here and I start a new image, and for some of you that are working with kids who are trying to learn a new language, you can also use this to build those STEM statements for them. You can build this to help them scaffold into it without a teacher having to take as much time. So, amazing student. Them 3 years, AP Psych, straight A's, very engaged, strong learner.
Kevin,
Great.
is the same ChatGPT 4.0 than the regular ChatGPT, or do you recommend this one better?
I like ChatGPT, like OpenAI's ChatGPT, the ChatGPT.com. Like I like that one. OpenAI, it's the same thing. OpenAI and ChatGPT are the same thing.
Okay.
I use the direct source. There's a lot of different companies that are wonderful. There's great students here.
So I have a question. If you're writing letters of recommendation, would ChatGPT repeat the same vernacular for different
That's a great question.
students?
So no, it will have the same legacy marks that I mentioned before. Like if you look in here, you're going to see multiple commas, the M dashes right here. Again, it just does it. So you can have it there and you can say like, like excellent letter. I have 2 students who meet the same criteria. Notice I'm not fixing my spelling mistakes. I'm just hammering through because I'm going for time on this. Meet the same criteria. Please make a second unique copy. You can do it there. That way it'll give me a unique copy here. I can actually come up and I can edit the response here too if I want to. There's a lot of different ways you can get unique responses from each one. So this is a completely different letter, but notice again, the M dashes are here, like those kind of legacy marks are here.
Kevin, question for you.
Yeah.
I read in one of the Reddit groups that I belong to, there was a senior student who was very upset because he found out that his teacher used ChatGPT for his recommendation letter, and he thought that he was going to not be accepted because of it,
Yep.
because the admissions checks everything with it, some kind of whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were like, well, they will probably check for your essay, but not the teacher's recommendation. Is
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah. So that's a good question. And most colleges and universities are using a system right now. Really the bigger plagiarism checkers, what colleges and universities are trying to do, they do have AI detectors. They're garbage. You would win that fight every single time. But what they do tend to do is look for people submitting the same things or overlapping things. They check against themselves. So that's a bigger issue there with plagiarism detection for sure. Again, if someone who's savvy with AI looked at this, like if you sent this to me, and even if you went and changed in the names, like I would have guessed you wrote AI just given the amount of this symbol, this dash symbol, along with the paragraph format with multiple commas rather than multiple sentences. Like I probably would have pegged this as AI, but most detectors wouldn't necessarily. I recently like I said, I went to WMU as a student and I teach at WMU. So like I purposely cheated on a paper and like submitted it through. It did say this could have been written by AI, but it did it for everything I submitted. And then again, if you take out some of these non-natural writing marks, I think I'm not worried about AI being detected on a letter of rec because a lot of times it's just part of the process now. Obviously I don't want students submitting directly from ChatGPT, but I do want them ideating with it. So it's a balancing act. But same thing with my teachers. The stem of this is still about the student. I want a teacher to take this and then go through and clean it up and make it honest. I see someone here, Kat is absolutely correct. You can't trust the output of artificial intelligence because it may do something weird at any point. So you need to know enough about what you're doing to say that it got it wrong. I can actually edit the response. I can change it. I can do all these things right here. So that kind of thing is absolutely true. Alteration versus creation, I like because again, if you're stuck on something, even if you put an input in and you get something that's garbage back, it's easier to fix something than create something. So let's say that you're looking at a student and you're looking at a class and you're like, you know what? The last 3 times I've done this lesson, I really didn't like it. Give me 3 ideas to teach this concept to students who may have limited language proficiency. And if 2 of the ideas are trash and 1 is okay, altering the one that's okay is faster than writing something from brand new. Cassandra, you're on the beach, but I'd love to know what you're saying. What's up?
Hey, so I had a situation where my son was brought in by his school administration. He had an at-home essay, and they accused him of using AI to write the essay. And he is dyslexic, and he used it to help him, but he altered it. He knew all the words, but it was crazy how they were using some AI checker and said it came out, they did it again, and it came out, I don't know, 33% or something. And he had to go in and explain all the ways he was using it and how it helps him do things better. And it's not for him not using his mind. I don't know. I was crazy.
And I'm sorry he went through that. This is a tool that is kind of a major advantage for students with dyslexia because of that, especially the chat feature, being able to talk with it. There's so much potential there. I'll be honest, 33%, like if an admin ever reached out to me and they're like, I use Zero GPT and it said 35%, I would have the students back without looking. Like, you can feed documents like the Bible into it, which is one of the most published, it's the most published document on earth. It's all over the internet, and it will flag as AI written. So like, unless we're causing like a crisis of conscience globally, like we have to be very careful with these detectors.
I agree. And I have another question for you. What do you think about humanizers?
So what do you mean by that? Can you give me an example?
So I guess I'm not familiar with it at all. My son was the one. I guess they have apps that are like, so he can take what AI wrote, put it into a humanizer, and it makes it sound more human.
Oh yeah. You don't even need that for that. Like,
I mean, I just feel like a person could do it, but maybe it couldn't. And so I'd never even heard of them. I thought,
yeah,
what is that?
so I just went in chat. I just went in there and typed and said, make this sound like a fourth grader. So like, you don't even have to go to the humanizer step for that. You can do it right in here. I do like, again, I kind of like people having to stay in one platform and learn to read and double check it and clean it up to make it work for them. Because of that, I do like, Melissa Tuttle, human in the loop is a phrase I use all the time. And then also I love that idea of like, 80-20. For me, it's probably closer to 60-40 a lot of the time, how much I'm trusting AI for things. But again, it's the initial time that I'm saving there. So even if I'm saving 20% of my time, like it's worth it to me. But yeah, so the humanizers and things like that. We'll talk a little about the dangers of AI. There's a slide there that gets a little concerning with some of those, and I'll talk about that. It kind of slides over there a little bit. So, all right, challenges of AI. We talked about detectors. Those are an excellent example of why we need to be careful with them. So if someone brings up the idea of like AI detection, like, and this is, I do upset some people with this, but the reason I'm in my seat right here today in the role that I'm in and working on this large scale AI commission is because I Google things. I cheat. I don't have a background in this. Like, I'm self-taught. I have not one, but 2 degrees in history because I make poor life choices. And my current master's with AI raging and being all around is on school leadership. Again, I did not go the right path, but it's one of these things where I've learned through this. So I really believe in people cheating, but again, correctly, like knowing what to know, multiple sources and checking and validating. It's the same with AI. If AI saves, my own kids time, then I want them to play around with it and learn how to use it. Especially, like one of the things I recently did for my grad school papers that saved me a ton of time was I can take the rubric and feed it into ChatGPT. I can take in statements. I can give it writing samples. I can give it my sample and say, am I close on this rubric? Like, am I the right idea? And it can say like, yeah, I'm like, how's my tone? How's my clarity? And it says, one of the feedbacks it gave me was, why don't you go back and look at the format rather than talk about this sequentially? Why don't you talk about it thematically? And I'll be honest, it made my paper a ton better. But again, that's me. But I didn't have a sounding board. I used to make my wife read everything. She doesn't necessarily want to read all 22 papers on reflecting why I'm a good leader. So those kind of things. So why not just stick to using Google? So are you talking about like Gemini, like Google Gemini? Or just like Googling things?
Both. I
Yeah.
do both.
So Google Gemini is perfectly fine. ChatGPT is just the one that I got most comfortable with early on because Google's original one was built off of ChatGPT. And then for learning, I do Google things all the time still
Yeah.
because I don't trust ChatGPT for everything. Because again, it's trying to sound like a human. Humans lie, and the internet's a bad place.
And then I feel like if you use Google, you can see the different sources and then you can make your own decisions.
Yep, you can. And that's part of what I do too. I tend to use ChatGPT to help with creative ideation. That tends to be where I'm at with ChatGPT. Like, help me write this better. Like, does this make sense? Like, I'm sending this to a parent who has no idea who I am, what this technology does, or like why I'm addressing them. Like, would you be able to like help me make this sound better for clarity? Like those kind of things. Yeah, Michelle, always cross-reference, absolutely, all the time. So a couple things that if you're going to use AI with your humans in your class, or you're going to use AI to support humans in your class, AI is biased. It's off the internet. The internet is biased. It will reinforce bias. Image generators and things like that tend to be. That's why I said risky click when I had it create the image. It tends to produce biased results. It will reinforce stereotypes. The other issue too, and the reason that's everybody's humans. I call every student a human. So I'm kind of known as the IT guy who calls people humans. But so with that, as you are looking at this, the other thing to remember too is that whoever programmed the AI you're using has instilled a bias into it. Okay, it has put in a bias to that program. It's, this is correct answers. This is how you should operate. This is what your goal is. There's bias in everything we do, so just be cautious of that as you're using this. Magic School does in fact use ChatGPT. They have what's called a walled garden, which means that they have bought ChatGPT and host it locally. Jesse, Magic School signed the state AP terms and conditions. They're the only company so far that has signed a straight up generative AI contract, I believe, or no? No, the other one did too. Do we AI companies on the potential like that are safe?
So Magic School has signed our state terms and conditions, and we are in final negotiation. I think it's fairly public to say this with Brisk Teaching. But those terms have not yet been signed.
There you go. So it doesn't mean you have access to them locally, but it means that you could potentially have access to them. Other companies do offer some other sharings. We've talked about balancing humans. Never ever give ChatGPT or AI direct student PPI. Even, I would argue too, even if you sign a contract with Magic School and they say we will protect your kids, I would never dump the entirety of your IEP in there. I might dump in the goals and say, like, can you help me rephrase this goal? But I wouldn't ever give it something legally binding or trust anything legally binding with it. So that's one of those things that I would strongly caution you against. A child's identity is one of the most sought after things on the dark web because of the legacy and the amount of time they can use a child's identity. So like with AI, we got to think about that too, because these companies are scraping everything. So we just got to be really, really cautious with our students' identity and our data and our names. Not to mention the legal requirements there, but that's just the moral analysis. Concerns over job displacement. Here's my phrase on job displacement. I don't think AI will take your job as an educator. I don't think it will. I think somebody who uses AI well may take the job you want. So when it comes down to you looking and saying, like, you know what, I want to go and apply for a job as an administrator, or I want to go and work for this company, or I want to go and teach in another school district, they want a human being. And you are, in fact, a human being, unless any of these are AI recorders, in which case you're a robot. But the AI, but you all are human beings. It's not going to take your job, but someone who uses AI may take the job that you want. So it's something to think about. It's a skill set. And I think about that with our kids, because just like the technology divide, just like the internet divide, there is an AI divide too. So something to think about. And that's my equitable access. And then obviously it lies. How accurate are translations on ChatGPT? It has gotten better every 3 months for the last 2 years. I'm not a language expert myself, but it has gotten better. I'm not saying good. I see a lot of people shaking their heads. Better, not great, better. If anyone in here is someone who does translation services or work, thoughts? Good, bad, worse? There you go. So it's too wordy. Yes. I've heard that it's too wordy. I've heard that it's better than a flat out like Google Translate right now, because Google Translate does the literal word for word translation. But at the same time, I've heard it's obviously not as good. Yeah, we still pay platforms for it. I have been experimenting with some of these, like the wireless, like translation earbuds, and with my CTE students who go to job sites. And then we have a couple different programs that we're trying. But so what I've heard is right now, like ChatGPT is better, but not great. So it's, again, human in the loop. Need to have someone who's an expert look at it. All right, real quick. So MLL kind of focused. We're using two AIs, and we're not even using them. We're working with two companies to talk about language acquisition with artificial intelligence. I'll say that. So the two companies are Ludwan.ai and Mitabi.com. They are both in teeny, tiny companies. I don't know if they're taking clients or not. They approached us because of our immersion program. They're like, we can help your immersion kids. I responded back like, I have students who are doing English immersion. What about that? And so we're looking at those. So what they do is both of these companies do the same thing. They create a safe space for language practice. So one of them, you pay, again, I'm talking like one person companies. They set up a scene that you pay them for, and it's a VR background, like it's a person that will talk to you. So in this case, it may be like, you're applying for a job, discuss you, and this person's going to ask you questions to see if you're a good candidate for the job. And then you can talk to it back and forth. The other one is Ludwan, is a little more school focused, where you can kind of create assignments and say like, I want students to practice talking about the rainbow and the colors and things like that. You can get feedback there. So if you want to look at those, again, they are so small. I have no idea if they're taking clients or not, but they are out there as far as language acquisition stuff. We use AI in a couple places for our students. We use it in Canva, which is a creation program. Every modern phone has some version of artificial intelligence on it now, so our students have access there. And then we use a program called Writable, which gives students feedback on their writing. So we don't have very much generative AI in my district because we don't have a company who has signed the terms and conditions to a point at which we trust them, other than these companies that have what are called walled gardens, which means that they have their own AI built in that doesn't go anywhere. And so right now that's Canva and Writable. So that's who we tend to use. The parameters, what do you mean?
Like from what I'm understanding, there are different parameters depending on the AI that you use.
Yeah, I get that. So AI is a tool, and the tool has been programmed to do something specific. So it's like understanding, like my kind of when I talked about the cars, like understanding like what type of car you're dealing with will help you know which kind of AI to use. IXL, if any of you have IXL, has been like beaten down the doors. Like we have AI. They use a machine learning process that says like, you got the question right, here's a harder question. Got the question wrong, here's an easier question. But like they're calling that AI. They've had that for like 15 years now. It is a version, but it's not generative AI. So like that would be like what we call like machine learning or algorithmic learning. And that just basically says if this, then this, if this, then this. And it does that kind of problem solving. Whereas generative AI like ChatGPT is attempting to create original content. Now it's stealing stuff from other places, but that's a different conversation. Okay. I talked too long. I'll put this.
So you're saying that
Yeah.
OpenAI does not have parameters?
It's the Wild West in terms of like, there's not really a strong set of like AI laws and rules out there. So it does a lot of things. Basically, I talked to a lawyer about it 2 years ago. And basically, there's not been enough lawsuits to establish which laws apply to AI and which laws don't. So like right now, ChatGPT's goal again is just to sound like a human being. It does that in a complex series of trillions of decisions, but that's what it's trying to do. So I apologize. I went over on my talking time. I will be here during the break session if anybody wants to hang and have questions. My name is Kevin Wright, and I work at Appo. If you want to ask me questions or shoot me emails, I'm fully accessible. I'm more than happy to talk. Some of my Appo people in here hopefully will attest that I am fairly friendly, and some of my peers across the state. So at the end of the day, if you're going to use AI, have some fun, do something creative with it. I will leave you with this. If you have to do something tomorrow with artificial intelligence and you want to have a little bit of fun, you can always make it a pirate shanty. So it's fun to do. Oh, Tara's in here too. There was like Melissa Lambert. There's like 11 people in here that could come this session.
And we
Thank you all.
chose you.
And thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all. You all are amazing. I'm here.
This was incredible. Thank you so much. So many things to think about and calibrate around.
Thank you. Thank
Amazing.
you all. People 2:30.
Hey, Kevin, what's your next slide? Because it looks like you have a thing there. Did you want us to do a survey?
So no, this is just this slide right here is just the if you
The
need
Padlet?
Padlet. Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
The slide. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Kevin, really quick, just
Yeah.
a random and fun thing I did is I had Chat GBT. I just gave it a picture of my dog and asked it to show me what it would look like as a human. And it took forever, and it was so funny because he's old.
Yeah.
My physical therapist is the one that made me even think about it, but I just thought it was the funniest thing ever to
That's
do.
awesome.
So
Love it.
fun thing. All right, thanks so much.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you. Remember, we all learn through playing, so play with it. We all learn through play. Thank you all for coming. Super awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day. All right. Looks like
Kevin, do
Alright.
you have any idea how we could get our districts to pay for the $20?
so.
I'm being cheap. I'm just
No,
messing.
I get you.
But
I get you. I mean, you could see if maybe a reimbursement for professional learning.
yeah, I think it might happen.
That would probably be my approach. I would probably approach it as professional learning and then go from there. Especially because you said
Okay.
you're a coach, instructional coach.
Yeah. I'm an LL coach for the district. So, but I'm in K-12. So it would be really helpful to be able to use it more regularly. Like
Yeah.
I started doing those things today, and even just the stuff about like generating, it would do word wall cards and posters and vocabulary. It's all the amazing things that I would love to have additional supports,
Yeah.
but I don't have to make them all myself, which is what I've been doing for a very long time. So yeah, it would be helpful. I think I will probably try to pursue that, and I'll let you know if I
That'd
am
be
successful.
cool. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
like I said, that to me would be the easiest avenue because districts aren't really fond of subscription models. But like,
Yeah.
but again, reimbursement's always a little bit different, especially if you can get it tagged to discretionary funds.
Yeah, so I feel like it wouldn't be too hard. I mean, I already get paid back for my mileage and for, travel and those kinds of
Yes, you've
things.
already
So
got your state vendor ID.
yeah, I'm already in there for that. So it would be good for that. That I was just curious because it does seem like it's gotten like I haven't played with it in about a year, honestly, or I only did that couple letters here and there. I did use it to generate a recommendation letter with a bunch of information that I had, and it did come up really nice.